We're in the presidential palace in Manila, where it's just over 100 days into the presidency of Rodrigo Duterte. In an exclusive first interview since he was sworn in, we talked to him about his controversial war on drugs and foreign policy, including deteriorating relations with the United States and potentially warming relations with China.
The President of the Republic of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, talks to Aljazeera. Mr. President, thank you for talking to Aljazeera. It's been a tumultuous start of a presidency for you, full of controversy, particularly about the war on drugs. But first, let's start with your background. You were raised in a politically inclined family. Your father was a governor. Your mother was a freedom fighter during the reign of former President Ferdinand Marcos. How has that affected your outlook?
Well, profoundly, I would say. I grew up in an environment of politics, and as politicians, we tend to you go by the issues of the day. The big ones that would affect the conditions, economy and all, especially the political issues. And my father was a governor for 10 years almost. But when he died, I was then a prosecutor. And when the revolution came, my mother was one of the stalwarts of the opposition against Marcos.
You also had some difficult times when you were younger. As a child, you have revealed that you were sexually abused by a priest. Has that shaped your beliefs? Has that helped to shape who you are now?
Yes, to a large extent, actually. It's what you get along the way that shapes your character, especially. And even at that time, even your politics and how you look at the world and how you should assess them by the standards that you have used in school and in growing up. The things that you pick up along the way, you said, it sorts of a blend into a collation. It blends into something which is can be said forming your own values in life.
Let's talk about the war on drugs now. 3,500 people have been killed so far. It seems like the whole world is talking about it at the moment. The Philippines seems to have so many problems. So why launch what is a brutal war on drugs?
Because the sheer number of people contaminated will pull my country down. It will destroy the next generation of Filipinos. You know, these lives lost. Some of them were lost during legitimate encounters with the police.
But the fact is, at the moment, we have 3,500 people killed, and you yourself alluded to just then that perhaps some of them weren't legitimate targets.
You know, there is no crime at all when you threaten criminals with death. In my country, at least, there is no law which says I cannot threaten criminals. And that was the favorite, well, of course, the cliche that they used. It became a cliche over time. And when I was president, I said, we have 3 million, according to PDEA, 3 million drug addicts. Not counting mine, because it's still going on. So I said, if we do not interdict this problem, the next generation will be having a serious problem. And I announced that, again, same. You destroy my country, I'll kill you. And it's a legitimate thing. If you destroy our young children, I will kill you. That is a very correct statement. There is nothing wrong in trying to preserve the interest of the next generation. That 3 million addicts, it's not, they are not a residence of one compact area or contiguous place. They're spread all over the country. And by the sheer number, because if you are a user, you must push. Unless you are the son of a billionaire, or because you have to sustain your addiction by getting another financier for you. And then the next financier will have to get a new victim to finance. That's how it became. That is how drugs is spread. But it was not until I became president that the widespread and the magnitude of the problem became really a serious issue.
So what about the children and the innocent people who have been
Well,
killed?
that is bad.
So will those cases be investigated?
Yes,
Do you promise that?
Of course. But let me tell you, this is the law of my land. Here is a police. Here is a gangster. He's armed with an M16. The gangster only a pistol. But when they meet, they exchange fire. With the police with an M16, it's one bus, and hits 1,000 people there, and they die. That's not criminal liability. It could not be negligence because you have to save your life. It could not be recklessness because you have to defend yourself. Just like when the United States and the rest of the country, when you bomb a village, you intend to kill the militants, but you kill in the process the children there. It's only how it is explained, and we are, people judge best when they condemn. So they will always place you in a bad light. But the situation does not call for that. And that explains the reason why, until now, I have yet to hear an apology for those who have in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, never mind about the militants, kill them. But then, in the process, 2 families, hospital, it is collateral damage. Then why is it is a collateral damage to the West, and to us, it is murder?
You went to law school.
Yes.
You worked hard to be part of the legal system. You are a lawyer by profession.
Correct.
And you were a prosecutor for many years.
Yes.
Do you still believe in the country's judicial system?
Right now, I should believe in the system because I will guarantee this time that the law is made. There are judges here in Manila, more than 1,000 cases, no conviction at all of a drug case. That is a bunny flows, maybe savagely threatening people on both sides. That is how it is played here. That's why you have this miserable thing about the drug problem now.
But do you acknowledge that you have encouraged vigilante killings?
No, I said I will kill you. If I encourage, fine.
Yes, but the point is that people can get away with murder right now, and you know that some of the killings are not legitimate.
Well,
So do you think that there might be cases of people settling old scores out there and disguising them as the war on drugs?
I do not play with conjectures. I do not make assumptions. I just say what I should be saying as a president and as a mayor. Now, if the criminals there are killed by the thousands, that's not my problem. My problem is how to take care of the law-abiding, God-fearing young persons of this republic because they have our resources. Strictly speaking, you cannot find any redeeming factor in being, the criminals there. They're there for what? They're there for just like the cartel in Mexico. If you read Ian Grillo, this is how the cookie crumbles. Exactly. So when I will kill you, because I'm the mayor, I'm the president. Now, if vigilante would take over, but, I cannot control it. I cannot be God and control everything. Okay, you just kill these guys, or you wait for the courts to do that.
Well, you can encourage good policing and you can encourage justice
Yes.
and trust in the judicial system.
Correct. But when I was campaigning as a president, the drug problem was already reaching by the millions. Well, 3 million is 3 million. Now, during my time, we have started to count. We are nearing now the 800 mark, 800,000. By the year ends, I would have about also 1 million. So I have 4 million drug addicts. Do you think that's an easy number?
No. So why not put all the energy into rehabilitation,
Well, where do you find it?
reforming
In
healthcare?
Okay. Can we cut this for a while? I just have to... Pakihanap yung newspaper kahapon.
He wants to show you the newspaper.
Oh, sure, no problem.
So you were saying about this facility, sir. What is this about?
This is a rehab facility built by somebody. This is what they cried at. You know, Duterte, he should have built rehab houses instead of killing the criminals, the drug lords. You know, this would cost millions. I entered the presidency of the Republic of the Philippines midterm. There is nothing at all left in that budget for this year, which was prepared by my predecessor, which was also prepared the other year to be implemented this year. The implementation does not contain any money. Because nobody, until I became president of this country, nobody realized how widespread, how dimensional it was for us.
Sir, in the past, during the campaign and weeks into your presidency, you have repeatedly said that you have no regard for human rights. But human rights is actually part of the Constitution. And as head of state, it is also your duty to uphold the Constitution. How does that connect?
I would rather intimidate and strike fear in the hearts of the criminals, just like what happened in Davao. When finally you can walk the streets, walk about in the streets at night, and you can eat anywhere at any time, and nobody would bother you. It's happening in Davao. Davao City is in the midst of Mindanao, it's a woodland. But I can assure you, as plenty of people have been there, it's a destination for conventions and conferences international. It's always selected, so it's booming. It is a little bit rich than the others. Why? Because we can live our lives normally. And of course, business can thrive. So that when I said, I do not care about what the human rights guys say. I have a duty to preserve the generation. If it involves human rights, I don't give a shit. I have to strike fear because I said, the enemies of the states are out there to destroy the children.
Are you not worried about possible ramifications in the future for you, a possible impeachment or being tried in the international court?
Good question. Before you can begin, you must determine that I have committed a crime in my country. That I have committed mass murders in my country and then charge me that. There can be no ramifications when I say that I will kill you if you destroy my land. It's a legitimate statement of any general, of any wartime president, of any tribal leader to say those things. Of course, you said there can be consequences. But I am not worried about this. I do not make any projections. How many vigilante killings? Well, if you compare the 4 million to the 3,000 minus legitimate encounters between the law enforcers and the criminals, give or take even a half of it. So what is it to the lives already lost? I have 4 million addicts to take care of. And I have been criticized and would say, well, why don't just, Duterte build rehab centers and just place them there? Why do you have to kill them? Look, I am a midterm president in the sense that I entered this year the presidency, only this year. The budget for this year was prepared by my predecessor, so Aquino. And it binds me because it would last until December. Nowhere in this budget provides enough money to build even 2 buildings of rehab structures. It's all what is left of my government now after the election is just enough for the MOE, maintenance and all.
So you're saying, sir,
No capital outlays.
the budget of President Aquino for this year, the last 6 months, does not include any rehabilitation?
Because the problem was there, but there was nobody minding the store. I was the only mayor brave enough to say those things. So my city, got the benefits of a peaceful place where you can live, where you can eat, work safely. But the others, we did not know. But they allowed so many administrations to flourish. And it was not until I became president that we realized that there were already, according to, at that time, to General Santiago of the PDEA, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, that there are already 3 million addicts. So never mind my counting, because I'm still counting up to the end of the year.
Are you in favor of medicinal marijuana?
Yes, but that's a very wrong process. It has to be something like being officially certified by the Food and Drugs of the Philippines, and it must have this qualifying, activity where it's being used to find out if it's really medicinal or if it can do something good for the body.
But you'd consider it? You'd consider it legalization of it, for example?
I'm not the authority for that. It's the Food and Drug Administration which says that it's good.
Okay.
If it is certified by the government that it's good, fine, no problem.
I don't think anyone could deny, doesn't matter how controversial it is, that you've delivered on your election campaign promise to crack down on drugs. One thing you haven't delivered on yet is your promise to ride a jet ski out to the disputed territory in the South China Sea and plant the Philippine flag on there. Now, many people, many voters, I assume, took that as a sign that you were going to be tough on China in that disputed territory in the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea, but you haven't been. Why?
Do you really think that I would go the riding? I don't even own a jet.
No, I don't. But people perceived that as a sign that you were going to get tough with China.
It was a hyperbole. Literally, you cannot expect to ride. I don't even know how to swim. And if it overturns, then you lose a president along the way.
So why did you say that then? What were you referring to?
A hyperbole. To stress a point that we will not give up anything there.
But your statements recently tend to indicate that you are willing to give up some territory there.
No, it does not. Nobody's going to give up the judgment that it's in our favor. You cannot, I cannot give it up. Nobody can give it up. Nobody in the Constitution allows anybody to give it up. Even the President cannot give it up. Those are our entitlements. This is an island. Everybody, every country in this world is given its own fish fund. That's your fish fund where you get the fish, the shells and everything. You cannot give it up. You can only negotiate to prevent war. Remember that okay, I'll push your logic to this logical conclusion. We have this judgment, right? Two things. I can go into a rage because it's being occupied. But remember, it is not the sovereignty that is there. It's the entitlement attached to it is the sovereignty. Okay? The other is to go into a rage and fight, and the other is to talk. What do you think will happen to my country if I choose to go to war? I fight alone? Or I would call upon the other countries to help me? Who? Who would die for my country except us? So we can only talk. And that's why they invited me for talks. I will go. But I will go with this paper.
A blank sheet.
Mr. President, yeah, I said, this is the award. I cannot go out beyond the boundaries of this paper. Let's talk. Let's begin here.
The Philippines won a landmark case against China, unprecedented in recent history, a smaller country standing up to a superpower. It declared the 9-dash claim of China invalid. Now, you're going to China, and you've mentioned previously, you said that you will not insist on the position of the Philippines on the Scarborough Shoal. Now, your critics are questioning why it seems you're going to China and negotiating from a position of weakness rather than of strength.
It would be arrogant to me to go there and say, I'm going there to fight for this and that. You know, there's much to be learned in history, and even in the books, and the way the Orientals places the words in his mouth, especially the Chinese. You have to go there with a little bit of courtesy. But when you are already in front of each other, then I said, this is it. We do not go. What would be the purpose in going there without this? For what?
But you can guarantee to the Philippine people that you are not going to sign away or give up hope or give up fighting for the Spratlys Scarborough Shoal.
Yes,
they are Philippine territory.
Nobody but nobody, not even the president of this country, can give up the claim. You are not allowed to do that. That is one sure way of going to impeachment.
But can you guarantee that you will fight to maintain those?
Nobody's going to give up anything there. I said, if the Constitution does not allow you, then who can? Then not even your mouth. That's how it is.
What deals are you hoping to do when you go to China?
Well, maybe we talk about, I would know, I would not know the wherewithal, so we would start. Then the judgmental thing would come into fore. Then some other matters about trade and commerce. And if there's any arrangement, if we want to come to a happy compromise, then we can talk about entitlements of the China Sea. But really, I cannot predict on any solid thing to talk about until I'm there. So, I am not there until I am there.
Will you discuss the war on drugs? Because records show that a lot of the drugs coming into the Philippines are coming from China.
They understand it. That's why they'd like to help. But you know, China now is a democracy. I mean, communist is just something which is just a thing to go by, to keep control. But everything there is free enterprise.
Having said that, Mr. President, you have clearly moved away from the United States. Why do you think it is necessary for the country to distance itself from its long-standing ally in Asia?
Our exclusive interview with the Filipino President, Rodrigo Duterte, will continue on the next episode of Talk.
Let's start with President Duterte of the Philippines telling the president that he can go to hell. He also said that he may break up with the U.S., apparently referring to the very mutual defense treaty that the White House has repeatedly said remains unaffected by the Philippine leader's more colorful comments. And in the past, when we've asked you about these things that he said, you know, you've pointed to some other elements of our cooperation, this hand-me-down ship that we gave them last year and other things, as signs that this relationship remains really strong. But I'm wondering, you know, given these continuing inflammatory comments and also the very specific commitments on policy things like saying we're not going to hold joint exercises anymore, is there anything that the leader of the Philippines could say? Is there any breaking point where the U.S. starts to say, look, you're not acting much like an ally, and maybe we want to reconsider whether this is something that's still in our interests or something that still is operationally intact?
Well, Josh, I anticipated that you might ask this question today because I'd seen these comments and was obviously aware of the previous comments that you cited from President Duterte over the last several weeks. Now, those comments are at odds with the warm relationship that exists between the Filipino and American people. There's also an important record of cooperation between our two governments, cooperation that has continued under the Duterte government, in fact. The United States-Philippines alliance is built on a 70-year history of strong people-to-people ties, including a vibrant Filipino-American diaspora, and a long list of shared security concerns. So the focus of the Obama administration right now is on the broad relationship with the Philippines and our work together in the many areas of mutual interest to improve the livelihoods of the Filipino people and uphold our shared democratic values. I think the best example of this is actually the response that was mobilized by the United States to help the Filipino government and the Filipino people deal with the aftermath of a historically large typhoon that hit that country a couple of years ago. Significant U.S. military assets were deployed to the Philippines to help communities that in some cases were cut off from the rest of the world because of the strength of the storm and the amount of rainfall and mudslides and other impacts that were precipitated by the storm. That's an indication of the deep and strong relationship between our two countries and the genuine interest that the United States has in the strength of that alliance and in the safety and security of the Filipino people. I think it's just one recent good example of the extraordinarily warm feelings that the Filipino people have for the United States of America. And I can tell you that the United States has not received any official requests from President Duterte or any other Filipino officials to alter any of our any aspects of our bilateral cooperation. In fact, and you made an allusion to this in your question, today marks the beginning of our annual joint military exercises with the Philippines, an example of the strong partnership and alliance that is in place. This is an alliance that is robust and benefits both of our countries. Even as we protect this strong alliance, the administration and the United States of America will not hesitate to raise our concerns about extrajudicial killings. We remain deeply concerned by reports of widespread extrajudicial killings by or at the behest of government authorities in the Philippines. The use of that kind of tactic is entirely inconsistent with universal human rights and the shared values of our two countries. And we value the strong alliance with the Philippines, but we won't be silent in raising our significant concerns about these kinds of reports.
And in the past, when the Philippine leaders made some of these comments, the White House has said publicly that U.S. officials were reaching out to the Filipinos to get some clarity about what he meant. Can you say whether the U.S. has reached out, either about the way he described the president, or more specifically about him saying he might break up with the U.S. to get some clarity about whether he was referring to actually revoking the treaty between the two countries?
Listen, the diplomatic lines of communication between the United States and the Philippines remains open, and obviously there are a variety of channels for communicating with leaders in the Philippines, including our military channel that's being exercised just today by commencing our joint military exercises that are held on an annual basis. So we've got open lines of communication with the Filipino government, and we have not yet received any sort of formal communication using those channels from the Filipino government about making substantial changes to our bilateral relationship. We've obviously seen the rhetoric, but we're also aware of the kind of communication that U.S. officials have had with their counterparts throughout the government in the Philippines, and our commitment to protecting and strengthening the alliance between the United States and the Philippines is firm.
I really do not mind. Ang away namin ganito, yung Amerikano, ang ayaw ko kasi, ano bang kasaba? Kasaba ba yan sa, yung reprimanding me in public. Kaya sabi ko, screw you, fuck you, lahat na. Gago kayo. Kasi bakit mo ako ganunin? Alam mo, 3 million addict. Instead of helping me, and you know that there is no money because there is, in that budget, we did not expect Honor Aquino, di niya malaman yung magnitude ng contamination. Tapos kung ganunin mo ako, turuan mo ako, I will give a policy statement in the coming days. Ibibigay ko sa inyo, pati mumurahin ko talaga sila. Now, ganito yan. Kung kayong mga Amerikano, galit ka sa akin, galit rin ako. I do not mean to cancel or abrogate the military alliances. But tanginan ko kayo, do you really think we need it? If there is a war, makaupakan, do you think we really need America? And do we need China and Russia for that matter? Today, I announced sa international, sa Aljazeera, I am inviting the United Nations, si Ban Ki, anong pangalan niyang yawa niya? Ban Ki-moon, Ban Ki-san. So, I am inviting the EU, yung pinakamahusay, send the best lawyers of your town. Pati ang mga rapporteurs, pumunta sila sa Pilipinas. I will write them a letter to invite them for an investigation. But, in keeping with the time-honored principle of the right to be heard, matapos sila akong tanungin ko sila. Isa-isahin ko sila. In open forum, you can use the Senate o yung Folk Art Center, whatever. Everybody will be invited. Tapos manood kayo. Tingnan ninyo kung paano ko lampasuhin yung mga yawa na yan. Whatever. Una ko lang tanong sa rapporteur, I killed thousands? Or what was the name of the first victim?
What happened? Where? For what reason? How was it done? What time was it? Ito si Obama, papatay yung mga blacks doon. Kahapon may binaril na naman na African-American. Kaya magpadala ako ng raportor bukas doon sa Amerika. Tanongin ito, bakit pinagbabariling itong mga itim dito? You know, tapos sabi ng Britain, sabi ng Germany, di warningan nila yung mga Arabs. You stop because we will bomb you. Ang tinatakot ko, mga kriminal, itong inyo, mga bayan ng mundong ito, ang mga kawawang Arab.